Republican Congressman Brad Wenstrup, a member of the House Ways and Means Committee. Representative, it's so interesting because I was thrilled to hear that maybe the corporate taxes were off the table, but then I started to worry, maybe we're jumping out of the frying pan into the fire. What are they going to cook up now in terms of replacing that?
Well, that's a good question. The one thing I think, figured out in the last several weeks, Charles, is now I understand why over on the House side we have magnetometers before going to the floor, because I think it's to keep Democrats from getting at each other. In some way. Now, Nancy Pelosi keeps saying we're close to a deal. Joe Manchin says we're a long way from a deal. Kyrsten Sinema has her demands, and she says, no increased taxes on businesses and individuals. So really, where are we? And, there's going to be a way that they try to bring this down in cost. The problem is they're going to initiate programs that they may have in now for 2 years. They'll cut it to 1 year to cut costs. But as you know, as history has shown, we don't get rid of any of those spending programs. And so that's going to be a problem for us. And, if we look at bills, I just wish we would look at them more where we say, does this provide more freedom for Americans, and will the next generation say thank you? Because right now, with all this spending, we're seeing such record inflation. And if it's not from unemployment benefits, it's other means. I had a neighbor, he's a union guy. He said, I just got a $300 check because I have one child. He goes, I really don't want that check. What I'd like to be able to do is fill my gas tank and maybe treat my family to a steak once in a while.
You brought up a great point with respect to the Democrat infighting. Listening to Chad Pergram just there, Senator Sinema, renewables, child credits, and family leave. Those are the same exact issues that Manchin is completely against. You got to wonder how they woo both of them when they're sort of, up until this point, we kind of had put them together side by side as sort of this couple pushing back. Ironically, It looks like they're pushing back against each other, right? And you can't appease both of them, but you still know or believe somewhere that something's going to happen. And I'm worried about the tricks. You kind of alluded to them. Things that are truncated in a certain way, sunset provisions, where you say it's a $2 trillion bill, but it's really a $4 trillion bill, where you put in new social spending that you can never take out. I mean, I would suspect that that's what's going to happen.
The writing's already on the wall, I think, for that, Charles. And then, we have the situation in the House of Representatives where the infrastructure bill means you're getting this multi-trillion-dollar spending bill. They are linked together. The president has said that. Nancy Pelosi has said that. So that's a challenge in the House of Representatives. Look, we're for it, some type of infrastructure. And, I don't know if you saw this yet, but it's interesting what passed in the Senate was a bipartisan bill to take some of the COVID relief fund money and allow governors of every state to take some of that money and go towards certain infrastructure projects that they may need. Why can't we just talk about doing something like that right now? But infrastructure should be about economic development and enhancing our supply chain capabilities and, clean water and sewage and broadband and things like that, not all the things that are in the package we're seeing.
It is so amazing in the midst of this amazing supply chain issue crisis that we could actually pass infrastructure to make this, turn it into an opportunity instead of a crisis. Congressman, I want to get your thoughts on the White House today saying that there's been no change in its position on Taiwan. This, of course, one day after President Biden saying in a town hall that the U.S. would defend Taiwan against Chinese aggression. What do you make of all of this?
Well, it sounds like diplomatic doublespeak, I guess, in some ways. I want the president to say that we will defend China or defend Taiwan against China. And I want Taiwan to be working with us and with their neighbors in the Indo-Pacific, to do this. But unfortunately, I think a lot of nations around the world have some concern about what America may or may not do, because actions speak louder than words. Absolutely. And what we saw happen in Afghanistan does not give people confidence. But there are some things that we can do. Taiwan has a deal with us to purchase F-16s, move them up in the chain, move them up in the supply chain to them, get those done. And there are other various ways that we can bring the countries of the Indo-Pacific together with us. They all understand it. Australia understands it. Even Vietnam understands it. It is important that we
Considering
defend
all the
Taiwan.
provocations from China, we probably should do something more to send a signal to our allies and to China. Congressman, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. I've got some breaking news to report.